So exciting, Sean. Thank you so much. All right, job hunting season officially underway. So for some companies, applications are coming in. For others, maybe not as much, or maybe none at all. And joining us now to talk about the secret to attracting top talent is consulting psychologist and associate professor at Yale University, Dr. Eric Frazer. Pleasure.
Good morning, Maggie.
To have you on. Good morning, good morning.
Thank you.
Let's get right into it. We have a lot to cover. What should employers be doing to attract the best of the best?
Yeah, so this is a real area of difficulty that companies are struggling with today. Two things, one is identifying top talent, and then secondly, retaining them.
Sure.
And where the conversation is going with this is really driven by psychological research. And what we're looking at is specifically psychological core competencies. Mm-hmm. And that is how companies are finding these people, making sure that they match with the role within the organization, and finding that fit to get them into that seat.
What can employers be doing when, let's go through the hiring process, when they're looking through resumes, when they're conducting interviews? Are there certain actions, certain behaviors that should be taking place to make sure that you find the right person for a particular position?
Yes, absolutely. And Harvard Business Review just came out with an article discussing this last month, specifically looking at AI and machine learning, which are hot topics these days. Like, this is the way to fine-tune and precisely identify these candidates. Well, it turns out that we're not quite there yet. Mm. And what we're really going back to are the behavioral markers, right? The psychological behavioral markers, where candidates can tell stories, can talk about themselves, and have a more person-centric approach to the interview process. Sure. To understand that they have these proven competencies that companies are looking for. Things like emotional intelligence, things like grit, right? Mm-hmm. Continuous learning. These are the kinds of metrics that companies need to understand within their hiring process, and candidates have the opportunity to talk about.
So going deeper and really trying to figure out what type of person this is, right? To make sure that they are the best fit for this particular role. Not just maybe, they look good on paper, the resume looks good, the interview went well, but going beyond those steps.
Right, absolutely. Really understanding the person. And that fits into the conversation that we're having today with hiring too, about finding work-life balance and meeting the needs of different workforces and millennials and Gen Z workers coming in and having a different set of expectations. And this is one way to approach it scientifically.
Are there missteps or maybe common mistakes that happen that employers they are trying to do their best, but perhaps they're not sure how to navigate through the hiring process, things that can come up, and then you end up with maybe not the most ideal candidate in a certain role?
Yes.
Things to avoid?
Yes, yes. So this constantly comes up with organizations that I'm speaking with, and they're struggling with pairing up between their strategic and core values, for their organization and for the employees, and then living up to it.
Sure.
Right? So that's an area of difficulty, and bridging that gap better and being able to query what the candidate is really interested in, what is their true passion, and how is the company going to fulfill that, right? And things like continuous learning and professional and personal development, and living up to those values for the client. That's what keeps top talent within the organization.
Good stuff. Now, we've just skimmed the surface, but you have a book out that dives much deeper into this topic. Can you quickly tell us about this book and where it's available?
Yep, sure. So Psychology of Top Talent, this is available on Amazon, of course. It really gets to the nitty-gritty of these specific psychological competencies that I've mentioned today a little bit, the growth mindset and grit and mindfulness and emotional intelligence skills for communication, regulation. These are the kinds of psychological research-based competencies that companies are interested in, but also
Sure.
the candidates are interested in as well. If they are really identifying themselves as that kind of a professional, they want the skills to be able to move forward, and this book is the first step to do that.
Very insightful. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you.